Hello, it is the evening of June 28th, 2018, and tonight we're going to talk about something that is really way outside the box here. It is an idea that has been kind of formulating over the past few days, and finally, just a few moments ago, it kind of came together into something that may be able to be articulated. So we're gonna, before we get started, say again that these are just ideas. This is nobody's rules. This doesn't have to be anybody's truth. It doesn't even have to be my truth. But it's something that we want to talk about. So here we go. As we have talked about in previous recordings, a lot of us have experienced trauma, either in our childhood or early adulthood or somewhere in there. We've gone through shit, right? We've gone through stuff, and the thing is that we have lived under what may have been an illusion of those experiences being in the past, where truly those experiences still exist. Now, give me a moment to explain. And again, these are just ideas. Now, first of all, the reason why we kind of compartmentalize these different situations and challenges and traumas that we have experienced into the past, the distant past, long, long ago, because to put distance between who we are right now and the experience, it gives the illusion that over this the period of time, the something about it, as it grows in distance, in time, it diminishes somehow. It shrinks somehow, or it not only does it move away from us in time, it moves away from us in every way, so that it doesn't have to affect us as if it was something that was still happening. But we're going to offer here that perhaps this has just been a means that we have used to maybe overcome or to deal with the immensity of the pain, the suffering that those experiences have caused us and continue to cause us. Because the only thing, okay, so the thing is, the way we experience life here is in a temporal way. So, meaning we cannot possibly experience, excuse my stomach, we cannot possibly experience all of a lifetime of experiences in the same moment, the way we exist right now. Okay? that's just impossible. And so it's been it's been stretched out into this, imagine this path, imagine this long stretch of road, and that the beginning of that stretch is our birth, and the very end will be when we take our leave of this place. And so between those 2 points is the stretch of time that is this place, wherein those experiences that we have will be had by us bit by bit by bit by bit. Okay? And we can't roll that all up into one. Imagine that road somehow being rolled up into a single moment and experiencing it all within a fraction of time like that, which would be no time. That's just impossible. And so let's start from that idea right there, that we experience life in space and time like this, right? We understand that. It's not big science right there. I mean, it's not hard to understand that. Now, the thing is this. All of the experiences that we have on that path, they leave an imprint. They leave an imprint, not just in our brains, but in our cells. These are things I'm reading about right now also. They leave their memory imprinted in us, not consciously always, usually not consciously, but they're there. And that's why when people can go to like a hypnotist, say, and all of a sudden all of these things can come pouring out because they're still there. They're still there. In fact, if you've ever read about or seen someone going through this hypnotism, they're living it as if it is in the present, because that's how those memories are stored. They're not stored in us as the past. They're stored in us as the present, as this moment in time. And so that's why we can be triggered. That's what triggers do to us. They wake up what we can't experience it all at once. So some of these things have to lie dormant, but they're still in there. And then you'll have a trigger, and all of a sudden, you'll have somebody break out into a cold sweat, and heart is racing, and this fear, and this, all of the original sensations will come up exactly as they did at that event at that time, because remember, we live in time. But when it's brought up under hypnotism or hypnotherapy, the person's actually reliving it again. So they're there again. So the ideas that have been coming lately, these past couple of days, have been about those things, and about how, even though we, and it's not like we're playing mind games with ourselves because of something bad, or because we're so weak, or because it's just because oftentimes there are things that are so painful that to have them ever present with us would actually drive us probably to just to something really bad. If we were to have to relive all of the experiences at one moment, it would absolutely, we would just explode. There's no way we could exist like that. But the truth is that even though those things they're imprinted and they're out of our conscious memory, they still do come up for us in the way we live our lives, even though it can be something that we experienced in time in this place. And according to the rules of this place, it's something that we experienced as an event 30 years ago. Well, here I am 30 years later, and I am, the thing is still alive, and it's the repercussions, we'll say, of the event are coming out in other ways in my adult life. So let's just kind of make this something we can think about for real. So let's just say when I was a child, there was a female who mistreated me, a caregiver, and this is something just to kind of help us to understand what we're talking about here. So in my conscious memory, because it happened so long ago in time, my conscious memory really can't even remember the person's physical features except just some little bits. Maybe she was a little heavy set. There were certain smells in the environment that was part of it. There were certain sounds in the background always. Okay. And of course, the feelings of the mistreatment, they make their imprint. So all of those together are kind of like the signature of those moments. It's not just whatever was done against me as a child. It's that's part of the memory that's imprinted, and within that are the sounds, the smells, other voices, maybe the something about maybe colors in the house or whatever. All of those things are going to come together and imprint. So now, again, fast forward 30 years, all of a sudden, certain things, I have no idea why, really bother me a lot, to the point of I get nauseous. Makes no sense whatsoever to me. Certain smells I can't stand to be around, or certain personalities that kind of highly featured in this woman. People who have something of the personality like what she had, something in there, maybe even if they have a deep voice or whatever it is, certain things just kind of maybe irritate me. And so all of a sudden, I don't like my next door neighbor. I have no idea why. I don't trust her. I see her, all of these kind of things. And there are things that I'm carrying with me, and they don't feel good. And I have no logical or conscious reason or explanation for any of it. The physical, maybe symptoms that I might acquire, maybe when I'm triggered from something, So that's how we continue. That's how those things are still alive in us, but just not the fullness. And sometimes under hypnotherapy, the whole shebang can come out. And then I don't know exactly how it's done. I've never had hypnotherapy, but I'm assuming that there's a process that happens to help the person to begin to understand these things and how they're relating to their life now. And oftentimes people do go for that because they just reach a point like, I need to understand some things. I feel like there's something I'm not understanding. There's some pieces of the puzzle that I think will help me to understand why I do the things I do, why I don't do things that I don't do, why do I avoid certain types of situations, why do I have fears of this and that and the other, whatever. And so we're proposing here, in a nutshell, before it gets too long, this is just an introduction also, that instead of us doing this mind thing with ourselves where we imagine that if we push those events far away from us into the distant past, somehow they won't have a strong hold over us. Perhaps we can realize that those things still do impact us because they're still very much alive in us, and accept that that is the case, that those things are with us at present. So even the way we think about those events, to say, this thing didn't happen to me 30 years ago. This thing is happening. Shh. This thing is happening to me presently, or this thing is something that I am experiencing now. And figuring out, that'll be our part 2. How do I go to this experience? Because it's right now, but I live in a world of time and space. So I'm sitting here in the room, and this woman, I don't even know if she's still alive anymore. Yet if we're saying the experience is still right now, and it's not in the far past, how do I access it? How do I bring it up right now? And you might be thinking, well, why the hell would I want to do that? To heal it. Because shoving it or sweeping it under some rug, it doesn't work because it's still there. So first of all, articulating consciously, this event is happening to me right now. And yes, that will bring up the pain, and that will bring up, possibly, potentially, that would happen. But is it better to, as they say, rip off that proverbial bandage? Just to rip it off and get done what needs to get done so that we can move on with our lives. So that's what we're offering, is that perhaps we can go about this healing process by, understanding that time, we often hear that saying, oh, time is an illusion and things like that. And we're presenting here that this is really, really true. Time is an illusion. And it's been designed this way so that we could exist in this type of world, that where events just, it's a linear like that. It's not all just balled up in one tiny little, like, singularity, little point. because that wouldn't even make sense in this place, let alone be possible to exist like that. It just, so anyway, that's our first part, is just to consider that everything is now. And if it's true that time is an illusion, there's no such thing as the past and there's no such thing as the future, those are concepts, then that may be the place, that may be the starting point for us to be able to again access these events and to be able to heal them. And when you heal them, then the wound is healed, and then there is, when we have a wound, and then after it's been cared for and treated, and you go back months or years later, what has happened when you look at that, where that wound happened? You see? And that's what we want to happen for ourselves. And it may be possible for each of us to learn how to bring this about. So these are ideas. They are based on some really fascinating books that I've been reading recently, and some that I've read in the past too. It's kind of like some of these ideas are starting to come together and make a picture, and I wanted to share it. So anyway, we'll have another part on this. So thank you very much. As always, we want to wish you much love. Good night.